Countless video games have themes of love and romance in them. It's heartwarming and a wonderful thing to experience as a player. But which game captures love the best? Which game is fitting enough to earn the title of a Valentine's Day game? Some may point to obvious picks such as Skyward Sword, Honey Pop, or even Tinder. But what if we opened our eyes a little more and examined a series that, on the surface, doesn't solely revolve around love? Metroid. This beloved sci-fi series has some heart buried beneath the surface. We just have to dig deep enough to find it. There's one Metroid title in particular that screams Valentine's Day game. Metroid Fusion is a Valentine's Day game. Before going any further, I have to put my obligatory spoiler warning for Fusion. Fusion is actually a pretty story-driven game by Metroid standards. Be sure to play it before watching this if you want to experience the story. Oh, and I'm spoiling Other M too a little bit, but who actually cares about that? Metroid Fusion being a game about romance seems a bit off the wall, I know. Sure, you could use Samus and Adam as evidence of love if you truly support toxic relationships. I won't be touching on any of the romantic chemistry between them because it just doesn't exist. If Samus and Adam were a couple, they would have a horrible relationship. Just imagine how restrictive he would be.
I'm going to go out and see my friends.
Beep boop. No, you are not. You do not have the authorization to do that.
What?
I have not cleared authorization for you to go out with your friends. Any objections, lady?
Yes.
And that's why shipping these two is wrong. Valentine's Day isn't exclusive to love between two people. It can be for those you love in a non-romantic way, like friends, family, and most importantly, yourself. And that's exactly what Metroid Fusion is. Samus's journey to loving herself. Metroid Fusion is a Valentine's Day game. Now, I know I sound like a BuzzFeed article saying, Samus Aran's discovery of self-love, but I have genuine proof of this. Samus's self-compassion journey is a long one that stems from her youth. At such a young age, she watched her family get brutally murdered by Ridley. That isn't all though. Even in the recent years leading up to Fusion, she's had some dark moments. She fought the dragon that murdered her parents multiple times. She watched the baby sacrifice themselves for her. She was the main character of Metroid Other M. She experienced the death of multiple comrades at the hand of her clone. She had her game scrapped and restarted during development, and her commanding officer, the man she looked up to the most, bit the dust. Adam! Because Metroid Fusion takes place at the end of the Metroid timeline, Samus has experienced all of this. Fusion is the beginning of her mission of becoming a new person. Someone without depression, stress, and anxiety. Someone she can confidently look at in the mirror, and without hesitation say, I love you. This is Samus's adventure of loving herself, accepting the past, cherishing the present, and preparing for the future. Metroid Fusion is a Valentine's Day game. Metroid Fusion is all about Samus going through the 6 sectors of the BSL space station to investigate viruses known as X-parasites. These pests are infecting life forms, machines, and most importantly, Samus's old power suit, creating the menacing SA-X, or in Kingdom Hearts terminology, the SA Key.
His heart's inside my heart.
And I know what you're thinking and what you want to ask. Yes, the SA-X should absolutely have a saxophone track that plays every time they show up. The saxophone just sets the mood so well. It's passionate, soft, and seductive. Okay, I'm referring to the SA-X as saxophone for the rest of the video now. The saxophone hunts Samus the entire game, always on her tail, always behind her, like a shadow. The saxophone is the embodiment of Samus's past. The armor is the most obvious evidence, but digging deeper, Look into their eyes. They're soulless and empty. The feelings Samus has felt for many years. The saxophone chases Samus through the 6 sectors in the space station. These sectors are a giant metaphor. They can be traced back to the 6 steps of self-love. And yes, this does exist. There are plenty of articles online with this title. 6 Steps to Cultivate Self-Love by Dr. Shaina Ali. The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Brandon. How Do You Actually Learn to Love Yourself by Dr. Margaret Paul. None of these articles were the right fit for Metroid Fusion, unfortunately. Instead, I stumbled across a Reddit post titled New Year's Reflections, 4 years after hitting rock bottom. And in this post, there's the 6 steps to self-love. These 6 steps feel like they were crafted for Samus's internal struggle during Fusion, with each sector representing 1 step. So let's dive into this educational analogy. From the top, we have Sector 1. You know, that area that got a hot remix in Brawl. Sector 1 is a recreation of SR-388, the planet that Samus infiltrated in Samus Returns. Also the planet where she first met the baby, and formed a bond with them. One of the key figures from her troubled past. This matches beautifully with the first step of self-love, forgiveness. As Samus ventures through Sector 1, she looks back on her time on SR-388 when she first met the baby. Before moving forward, she must forgive herself and accept the mistakes she's made and the lives that were lost because of her, and trying to forget that Other M exists.
I was childish.
Sector 2, the foresty area of the space station. A forest, the perfect symbolism for step 2 of self-love, acceptance. Forests grow every day. Samus needs to accept to begin growing. It's a beautiful reference to this random quote I found on Google Images when searching for forest love quotes. My love will grow like a forest and grow every day with love for you. Samus must accept who she is as a person, love herself, even the darker side of herself, her past, which fits perfectly as this is the first area where Samus encounters the saxophone. Accept who you were and are in the present day. Only then can you begin healing. Sector 3 of the space station sees Samus traversing through a fiery environment, almost volcanic, which is the perfect place to evaluate your life and think about what's next. Lord of the Rings is evidence enough for that.
Glad to be with you, Samwise Gamgee.
What does Samus want in life? How will she get to that place she wants to be? What stands in her way? Step 3 of the self-love process revolves around knowing yourself. Diving into your heart to confront honest feelings can be difficult. You may get defensive, kind of like a security system, which is exactly what Samus goes against in Sector 3. The security system that Samus fights here is an analogy for those defensive feelings. To further prove this point, later in the game, Samus returns to Sector 3 to stop an explosion, this clearly being a parallel to her emotions bursting at the seams. She keeps it contained, she stays level-headed, and controls her emotions, and in that, discovering who she is as a person. Sector 4 throws Samus into an aquatic environment. Here is where Samus must take initiative and take responsibility of her life. No more hand-holding, time to become a strong, independent woman. Now, many know that Samus is already a very strong woman. This is true, but her actions in the prequel, Other M, say otherwise. She's limited and nearly murdered on multiple occasions because Adam doesn't grant her authorization. Which once again proves that they would be a toxic couple. Get yourself a man that will authorize your necessities for you. Or just have a man that doesn't hold anything back from you. That's toxic. Since fusion comes after Other M, Samus must learn to become the person she was before the events of Other M. She has to return to her prime. Accepting and taking responsibility is a huge thing in life. Think back to when you first took control. Was it riding a bike on your own for the first time? Pouring a glass of milk for yourself for the first time? Standing up to a bully in Fortnite for the first time?
Hey man, stop being a jerk.
Okay, man. I'm sorry. I love you.
Or perhaps swimming on your own for the first time, without assistance. Which is a very similar situation for Samus, because Sector 4 is literally underwater. Coincidental? Absolutely not. Hopefully Samus knows how to swim though. We're nearing the end of the recovery process. Samus has unearthed who she really is and what she wants in life. She has begun taking responsibility not just for her past, but also for the actions yet to come. Now, in step 5, she must honor herself. Even the ugliest side of her. The side that seems like a nightmare. And fitting enough, in Sector 5 of Fusion, Samus goes against one of the most menacing bosses in the series. The absolute unit himself, Nightmare. Every person has that evil, no good, ugly side to them. It's only human to have this side, it's okay. What you do with this dark side is what matters. Just don't do that, that's not okay. Samus confronts her dark side. Nightmare is absolutely another metaphor of Samus's dark side. She destroys the nightmare and stops it from impeding her progress on her path to self-compassion. I can't even make this stuff up, it writes itself! Now that Samus has exterminated the darkness that pulls her back, she can move forward. All she needs to do is grow, which is the final step in the self-love process. Strengthening yourself. When entering Sector 6 for the first time, Samus runs into an issue where the parasites begin doing damage to her when they had previously healed her. She has to evolve to become immune to them once again. To do that, she must obtain the Varia suit. She obtains the suit and becomes a whole new person. The old Samus has left, welcoming a brand new woman who loves herself. And that right there is the internal conflict Samus battles in Metroid Fusion. By the end of this 6-step program, she will become a happier person who loves themselves and has found herself someone she can be with on Valentine's Day forever. Herself. Self-love is the most beautiful love. Of course, afterwards, she still has to clean up the mess. She murders the saxophone, Ridley, and then yeets on the government, all while Adam channels his inner space odyssey.
I'm sorry? I'm afraid I can't do that.
Metroid Fusion is a Valentine's Day game. The message of romance in Fusion isn't transparent, but that's the beauty of it. Imagine how less effective the theme of love would be if Fusion was just simply a visual novel.
Parasite Senpai, you fill my heart with such questionable desires.
Which one of these two examples effectively portrays love the best? This?
I'm also just a girl. Standing in front of a boy. Asking him to love her.
Or this? That's right. I know this sounds like an essay written in 2 hours by a college student, right? Just a bunch of junk flying out of my mouth that doesn't even make sense. But Metroid Fusion did make me realize something when I replayed it. For years and years, Samus is all alone. Of course, she had some missions where she wasn't, but she held it together. For the most part. She didn't focus on love or romance through any of these missions. She focused on herself. And if on Valentine's Day you're feeling that empty, lonely feeling that Samus probably felt during her time in space, just remember, you have yourself. You're an incredible person. Recognize that. Don't rush into relationships just to fill that lonely void. Put yourself first. Treat yourself. Don't sit around and wait for someone to make your heart race. Make your own heart race. You're a fantastic human being, and one day someone out there will love you like Samus loves herself. Don't waste this time in the present, fantasizing how wonderful life will be when you find a partner. Instead, seize the moment, focus on the present, and better yourself. Do what you want to do. Don't wait. At the end of the day, you truly only have yourself in this world. Make the most out of Valentine's Day. Whether you're alone, with friends, or even with a significant other. Just don't forget to love yourself. And if you are lonely, don't watch that sad anime to make yourself feel better. Stop! Metroid Fusion is a Valentine's Day game.